Like 10 seconds ago, I was driving home having a nice day, and now I'm gonna die. So now I'm really mad. I'm like, I'm gonna fuck up his car while I'm here. So I grabbed his windshield wiper, and I was starting to rip it up. And he was concerned about that. So he slows down, and he stops. And I said, turn out, put the car in park so I could see the shift come up or whatever. So take the keys out. I'm not getting off this car until you show me that you're not going to drive away with me halfway on it. So he does. I get off. At this point, my wife has switched over to the driver's side. She has driven down to where we now were, and we're both on the side of the road. And I'm taking pictures with the digital camera that was in the car, because back then you had to carry a digital camera in the car in case there was an accident. The quaintness of time. And his wife, while I was on the hood of the car, she's waving her phone at me. She's trying to show me that she's calling the police. I'm like, yes, call the police. I want you to call the police. So the cops come. Well, a cop comes. It's a highway patrol officer. And I tell him what happened. I said, this guy hit me with his car, then he hit me physically with his car, tried to kill me. And so he says, all right. And he goes to the front and he talks to them. And he comes back to me and he says to my wife, you get out of the car. Go stand behind the car. She does. And he says to me, did you hit that lady? I said, what? What are you talking about? So she says that you jumped in her car and you punched her. Or you hit her. And I said, no, what are you talking about? He hit me. I told you this already. He hit me. So he turns around, he goes to the back of the car, and he starts talking to my wife. He comes back, and she gets in the car, and he goes back to his car. I said, what happened? She says, he was asking me what happened. I said, well, I wonder why. Oh, he separated us because he's trying to see if our stories match. He thinks I'm the bad guy. Meanwhile, the rear right side of my car is all messed up because this dude hit me. So he comes back a few minutes later and he hands me an accident report, and he says, I could charge you with improper lane change, and I could charge him with failure to yield, but I'm not going to. Just call your insurance companies and deal with it that way. And off he went. So, okay, whatever. I go home. I think it's the next day or 2 days later, right around noon, I get a ring at the doorbell. It's a sheriff's deputy. Hello, sir. What's up? He says, here. He hands me a piece of paper. I'm now being summoned to court. I've been charged with assault on a female. What? So what had happened was that night after the accident, I went home. That guy and his wife went directly to the magistrate. They turned around and went up to the magistrate in downtown Raleigh at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she already had a sling on her arm, and said, this guy hit us, and he punched us, and he terrified us, and this and that and the other. So now I'm like, what? So then I go down to the magistrate, because I want to file charges. I got the bruises on my arm to prove it, and the bruises on my leg to prove it. So the magistrate says, sorry, we cannot accept your charge against them because they charged against you first. It's called cross-filing, and so go fuck yourself, basically. I said, so let me get this straight. If I'm a bad guy and I assault somebody, if I run down to the magistrate's office and claim that they assaulted me first, they can't do shit, and I can get away with it. So that's the system, sir. Get out of here. So, all right, fine. So now I go to the highway patrol. I try to talk to the officer. He says, no, I did a report. That's all there was. Not dealing with it. So then I go. He says, if you want anything further, because highway patrol doesn't prosecute cases or whatever. That's what he said. Then what you should do is go to the sheriff's department. So I go to the sheriff's department. They say, no, that's not our jurisdiction because it's a highway and it's highway patrol. And I said, but highway patrol says they can't prosecute that kind of stuff. They only do traffic violations. They don't do assault cases and this and that because the guy tried to kill me. So, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, if you're a highway patrol officer and you see some dude on the side of the road Stabbing somebody to death? What are you going to do? Oh, that's not a traffic violation. I'm just going to keep on going. Sorry, pal. You picked the wrong road to get murdered on. Doesn't make any sense. So the highway patrol won't touch it because they only do traffic violations. They don't do assault cases and attempted murder. And the sheriff's department won't do it because they don't have any jurisdiction on the highways. They said, try the Garner Police. So I go to Garner Police. They won't touch it because it's on the highway. And they say it's sheriff's highway patrol. So nobody will touch this case at all. Not a single one of them. I had to get a lawyer. I had to pay $900 for this old North Carolina lawyer guy who talked like this all the time. And the trial date comes about a month later, and it says on my paper to be there at 1 p.m. for my case. The lawyer says, no, son. You got to show up at 9 a.m. when they open up. Because if you don't, and they call your name, and you ain't there, they'll issue a bench warrant on you. So you got to be there. I'm like, oh, all right, well, I showed up at 9 o'clock, and son of a gun, they called my name first. So she wasn't there. They said, is the witness here? No, the witness isn't here. I said, okay, case dismissed. Boom, off you go. Guy shakes my hand. Have a nice life. All right, thank you. Off I go. Couldn't believe how easy it was. Month goes by. My neighbor calls me up. My neighbor is the wife of a Raleigh police officer. She says, there's this lady that was just here. And I think it's the lady that you told me about, those crazy people. Because the dude that you described, he was in a truck in the driveway. And she was standing there on my porch asking questions about you. And she said that she was undercover with Wake County. I said, oh, shit. What the hell is this now? So she said, my neighbor said that they've been driving around the neighborhood. I see them passing by here over and over again. They asked me if you were married, names, what kind of job you had, where you worked, did you have any kids, what time you come, what time you go. And I kept playing dumb like I didn't know you. But the moment they left, I called you. So I called the sheriff because I live in a sheriff area. So I called the sheriff and I said, this is what's going on. They're going to my neighbor. And they're telling lies. They told my neighbor that I had hit and critically injured a little girl on Highway 40. So, the sheriff comes, and I tell him what happened. And he says, well, we can't do anything about it because she didn't say that she was undercover with Wake County Sheriff. She didn't say she was undercover with Highway Patrol. She just said Wake County. And so that's not impersonating a police officer. So we can't even charge her with that. I said, well, then I want a restraining order against her. No, you can't have a restraining order against her because she's not related to you. You're not married, she's not friends, she's not family, and at that time you couldn't do it. Jesus. I said, well, you at least go there and talk to them and tell them to leave me and my neighbors alone? Yeah, we'll do that for you. Off they go. Now it's midnight, same day. Ding dong. I go to the door. All right, it's the sheriff, the same guy from the daytime. And he has this pained look on his face, like he cannot believe he has to do what he's about to do. And he says, we went and talked to them, and I got to give you this paper. I look at the paper, it's another summons. She had the court reactivate the case. They pulled it back from being dismissed. And the reason they gave was when she arrived on the trial day at 2 p.m., like it said on her piece of paper, and they called my case at 9 a.m., she had the right now to say, it's not my fault I wasn't there, you have to reinstate this case. Whereas if I hadn't shown up at 9, I would have been in jail. So they give her all this benefit, right? False claiming mofo. All right, so now I got to go to court again. And I realized I was played. She played me yet again. When she said what she said to my neighbor, she knew what the limit of the law was. She knew that she couldn't say undercover with any agency because that's illegal. I figured this out later. And she knew that I would have the cops come to her house. And she had got this case reissued, this summons reissued. But she couldn't get anybody to deliver the summons to my house. She kept telling them to, and they wouldn't. They gave her excuses or whatnot. So she knew that if I called the cops and sent them to her house, she would then confront them and say, I have this paper, you have to give it to them. So that's exactly what happened. They gave me that paper because of that situation. So now I call the lawyer back and I'm like, what the hell? You said this was over, have a nice life, and now this. And he learns about it and he goes, oh my God, son. I've been practicing law in Raleigh for the past 40 years, and I have never seen this in my life. Well, you're seeing it now, guy. So now we go trial date, postponement. Trial date, postponement. Because the moment the court finds out that we have witnesses, myself and my wife and that dude and his lady, and she's got a stack of papers because she's already got medical bills this thick. So it took 2 years. Postpone. During those 2 years, finally, as the trial date is, the last one was nearing, I decided I would get a criminal background. I paid $100, $50 for each of them. I got a criminal background check on them, and both of them had a record as long as my arm. Him for multiple counts and convictions for terroristic threatening, assault and battery with a deadly weapon, harassing, stalking, making threats, all this stuff. That's a nice guy. The last 2 Harley guys, they waved. That was a nice thing. Yay for Harley guys. Love you. I'm one too. I'm wearing a Harley jacket, for fuck's sake. Just because I don't ride a Harley doesn't mean I'm not a Harley guy. Anyway. So, I go to the trial day, and they're finally going to hear our case. After 2 years of pushing it. So they call the case, and they get up and they testify, and she's up there with a sling on her arm, people. A sling on her arm. 2 years later. Got a stack of bills, something like $400,000 in medical expenses. And she's crying, and he jumped in my car and he punched me in the arm. She had a rotator cuff injury. Rotator cuff is caused by repetitive stress. It's what baseball players get when they throw too many baseballs. So the judge doesn't know this, of course, because she's not medical. And I could be wrong, but from my understanding, rotator cuff is like an old age thing. It's like a use thing. It's not like you slap somebody. Not that I did. I didn't. I didn't even get in her car, for fuck's sake. I was on the other side slapping on his window. But even if somebody does hit you, they're not going to hurt your rotator cuff just by slapping you or punching you or whatever. Anyway. So she does her best to look like a pathetic thing. And I said, now it's time for cross-examination, right? So I said to the lawyer, I said, here, look at this. And this is before the trial even. I was in the office and look at this. And he says, where did you get this? Like, I got it off the internet, dumbass. Why am I paying this guy $900 again? So, she had a record for larceny. She was convicted. She served time. Fraud, all this stuff. So I said, ask her if she was arrested, convicted, and served time for this. So he asked her, and she says, no. He says, well, is your name blah, 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 blah? Uh-huh. And was your address in 2002, blah, blah, blah? Yes. And you're here under oath in front of a judge telling me that this is not you and you did not blah, blah, blah. You did not, commit this crime and serve this time. So, oh, that? Oh, yeah, that did happen. So now the judge rolls her eyes and kind of looks at me and looks at everybody like, oh my God. At first I thought I'm fucked because it's a lady judge. Maybe she's going to see me and think, oh, this young kid punched this poor old lady. She was like in her 50s. And she looked older than 50s. She was what they call in the South, rode hard and put up wet. So he gets up on the stand and he starts his thing. He was an animal. He was calling me all these names and he was crazy. He was wild. He jumped on my car. Yeah, that's what tends to happen when you run into them. So, I said to the lawyer, ask him this question. So, you were arrested and convicted of terroristic threatening and assault with a deadly weapon in 1997, 1998, 1990. I mean, just get rattled enough. No. Same thing. Your name, your address, the year, Yeah, that's my name, that's my address, and all that jazz. I think I'm coming to the end of the line here. I think this might be a subdivision. It is. I'm in a subdivision. Oops. All right, I gotta turn around. She says, you're telling us in front of the judge and under oath that this isn't you that's been convicted and all this stuff? That. Yeah, that happened. But it wasn't my fault! And he starts screaming and yelling about this guy that his wife was cheating with and how he wanted to kick that guy's ass and fuck him up and all this crazy shit. It was ugly, but it did it. So the judge again rolls her eyes. So now it's my turn and my wife's turn. My wife gets up and she talks about what happened and she says, this, that, and the other. And I get up there and I said, this is what happened. Story I just told you guys. And as I'm telling my side, you hear all of a sudden, because they had this plastic folder, the two of them. They had this big plastic folder full of her shit. And he whacked it on the wooden bench in the audience. And you hear in this, because it was quiet, I was testifying, and all of a sudden you hear a whack! And everybody jumps. Nobody could see where it came from. Nobody saw who did it, but I knew who it was, because the only one who wasn't freaked out was him. He was staring at me with daggers. I mean, if he could have shot me dead right there, he would have. So, here's one there left in front of me. What's wrong with you? What are you doing? Retard. Ay. So, I finish, and then the judge says, okay, thank you for your testimonies. I need to consider this. Not guilty, clang! So out we go. Yay, right? And I'm finally vindicated, and I'm free from this, and yay. Month goes by. I come home, I get a sheriff's deputy card stuck in my door. So now my stomach sinks, and I'm all freaked out again, and it's all right back again. She's still fucking coming at me. So, I call the number on the card, and this guy says, can I come and interview you? Yes, fine. He comes, he says, do you know what I'm here for? I said, no, I'm assuming it's these two people, and I'm assuming it's that case. He says, no, it's those two people, but it's not that case. They say that you put sugar and red pepper in their gas tank. Like, what are you talking about? I don't even know where these assholes live. I mean, I had the address from the record search and from the court records, but I never went there. I never looked it up. I didn't want to be anywhere near these people, so I didn't know where they lived. So I don't know where they live, let alone would I ever go there. I'm not a glutton for punishment. So, he says, well, there's no evidence, and I believe what you're telling me when you say you didn't do this. And he was a Harley rider, I was a Harley rider, and so we started talking about Harleys, and it was all done. They sent a letter to my lawyer. Said, you tell that son of a bitch, we know it was him put that sugar in our gas tank. You tell him we're getting a security camera, we'll catch his ass next time. Fuckers. So, okay, I'm done. Am I done? Am I done yet? I'm not. Am I done? I'm not. I don't know if I'm done. So now it's like 2 years later. Okay, so it's like 2010 maybe, 2009. No, it's about 2009. So it's about 4 years from the original debacle. And I get a call from my insurance company. They say, "You're being sued." What are you talking about being sued? Do you know this lady and this guy? Yes, I know these fucking people. Yes. Well, she says that you hurt her, and so she wants you to pay all these medical bills. And they can't sue you directly because you're covered by your car insurance. So she's suing us because of what she claims you did. And I'm like, Jesus, motherfucking Christ. So then they said, in the insurance field, this person is what they call, insurance people know this person as a litigator. She's got multiple cases open against multiple people with multiple insurance companies. And this is how she makes her money. And I had figured this because when she instantly showed up with a sling, I'm thinking she's trying to get a conviction on me for for something I didn't even do. A, to protect her husband from any possible criminal charges that I might have filed, which I wasn't going to, until I thought, oh my God, they're fucking me. And so to keep us from doing it to them, they did it to us, and then to make money off me. So I called my father up, and I left a message that all these sons of bitches are back at it again, Dad. So my father, he used to be a mafia button man. So the way that works, if you've ever seen Goodfellas, if, let's say I'm a mafia guy, and you borrow money from me, and then you start ducking me, you're not paying me back, I send some big tough guy to come and push a button on you to make you pay me. Well, that was my dad. So he would go on missions with other button guys, and they would, push a button on somebody. I don't know the extent to which it went, but I'm pretty sure that my father has done some stuff that yeah. Whew, he used to know the Winter Hill Gang. That was, what's his face? I can't remember his name now. They made a movie about him. Whitey Bulger. That's the one. My dad knew Whitey Bulger and all that. So my dad's now like on death's door almost. He's probably about a year away from dying. Calls me up when I'm not home and leaves a message on my answering machine. Back then I had a home phone as well. He left it on the answering machine, and here's the message. Ready? Hey son, it's your dad. I just talked to a couple of my friends about those assholes. Those ones that have been bothering you. Well, let me tell you something. I got a couple of friends can take care of it for you. I'll tell you what, those people won't bother you again. Give me that number. So I'm looking at this message and I'm thinking, oh my God, if I say yes to this, there's the great possibility that these people are going to be beat the fuck up or disappeared. Holy cow, I have all this power all of a sudden. I can bring holy hell down on these people. I immediately knew I wouldn't do it. But I called my dad up and I said, thank you, Dad, for the offer. I really appreciate it, but no thank you. But if I should get run off the road while I'm riding my motorcycle, then you have carte blanche to do whatever the hell you want. All right, son, you let me know. If you change your mind, you let me know. So now, I don't know, a period of 8-9 months goes by, and I submit affidavits, this, that, the other. And they said, the insurance company said, we're going to settle. I said, what do you mean you're going to settle? These people don't deserve one red fucking cent. Well, if it goes to trial, it's going to be thousands of dollars for lawyers' fees, and it's just easier to settle. And so we're going to offer them this, and we're going to settle. So in the end of the day, this low-life scumbag from hell and his criminal wife, they got $7,000 in the settlement, but they had to pay $33 1/3 to the lawyer, and there were a bunch of other fees, so they ended up coming away with $2,000 clean. They got $2,000 from this thing. It took them 5 years, but they got $2,000 out of this, out of me. Not really out of me, because my insurance didn't go up. Thank God. But they shouldn't have got a goddamn penny. So let's go back to that night when this whole thing originally happened. Now, I know you're going to say, well, you should never have tried to merge in last minute, asshole. Okay, fine. I don't do that anymore. Even though that's the correct thing to do, it's more efficient that way. It causes less traffic that way. By going over earlier, you're causing everybody else to have to wait. You're making it worse. You're not solving anything. You're making it worse. But fine. You want to be polite? Pull over first. Okay, fine, whatever. If I hadn't pulled over, done that, the whole thing wouldn't have happened. That's the first off. Second off, when he hit me and pit maneuvered me, if I had just sat there and let him go, nothing would have happened. I would have been able to very easily just make an insurance claim, uninsured driver, I don't know who it was that hit me, and, Bob is your uncle, as they say. But no, I had to defend my wife's life because it hit that side of the car, and I had to make this guy pay like John didn't pay. And look what it got me. I ended up on I got, what do they call that? Generalized anxiety disorder, explosive rage disorder. I had to be on, they put me on Lexapro and some Balta, now Zoloft. I had PTSD over the damn thing. I had rage. I mean, a literal rage. Like I wanted to murder people. It was terrible. All because of this. All because of this. So my philosophy is if somebody comes and smashes into me again, I'm not getting out of my car. I'm not going to confront anybody. Instantly goes on the cell phone. Call 911. That's it. That's all. 911. Make sure I'm safe. Make sure I'm secure. Call 911. And that's the story of how keeping it real, like some people might expect me to do. Like, that's what you should have done. You know, well, I did it, and look what the fuck happened to me. Discretion is the better part of valor. And that is the lesson from my Kaylee 7 today. I'll talk to you later.